Gentlemen, what's the biggest "I'm a princess" red flag? "I don't like cheap stuff" is always a dead giveaway. Also, mothers and sometimes fathers, depending on things. If your girl is BFFs with her mum, she'll end up like her in 20 years. It's like a freaking time capsule sometimes. My bro's wife is like this. The worst sign is when she's BFFs with her crazy witch mother, but only when they're apart. If they can't stand each other and argue all the time when they're together, but talk on the phone constantly when they're apart, run, mother fricker. This B-word is crazy. "Oh, you can take it, you're a guy." My best friend's ex would literally shove him around without even warning him to vent her unrelated bad mood, would be annoyed with his protests because she was significantly smaller than him and "men can take it." Didn't change the fact that shoving someone into a wall or a chair literally just because you feel like it is as straightforward abusive as you can get. The entitlement of it all. Lack of awareness of the plight of the proletariat and the subjugation of archaic feudal hierarchies. Come and see the violence inherent in the system. And now, a flag I had never even considered or encountered, and that is apparently a very common one. I'm a woman, but I've noticed women who are obsessed with Marilyn Monroe are usually terrible in a variety of ways. Frick. This hits hard. I dated a girl for a while in high school. She was fun, had a great sense of humor, and she was absolutely gorgeous. It was high school, and crap happens. We broke up after a little less than a year. Fast forward to 22-year-old me at Walmart in the middle of the night buying bullcrap snacks after work, and who do I see in line? Awesome girl from high school. She's with some guy who I assume is her boyfriend. We talk a little in line and I head home. By the time I get home, I have a text that just says, "He's not my boyfriend, by the way." And that's when I knew that I should pursue this again. We went on our first date and it was just like high school. She was still amazing and I realized that my feelings for her seemed as if they hadn't dulled in the slightest. Everything seemed perfect. I learned that 1, she had gotten her nips pierced, and so I didn't really focus on number 2, which was that she had a portrait of Marilyn Monroe tattooed on her waist with a dermal piercing for the beauty mark. I thought, that's weird, but those are great. Little did I know that there was a pot of crazy brewing underneath all of it. We dated for less than 2 months when she told me that she didn't want to be together anymore. I was upset, but after talking about our relationship and our feelings, I told her that I understood. A couple of days later, I get a phone call. She is teed off, screaming at me about how much I hurt her. I'm confused, to say the least. She tells me that breaking up with me was a test. I was supposed to fight for her. She wanted to see if we were meant for each other. Needless to say, I blocked her phone number and haven't looked back since. Mail here. Ex loved Marilyn, ditched me for some guy who made more money. Apartment building caught on fire. She stole a Marilyn Monroe painting from the apartment next to ours and half my insurance check. She wouldn't sign off on it unless I gave her half. Happened days after she took all of her crap and moved out. Yes, I fought and did my homework. No win situation. She even went on to stop responding to me when I had $1,000 worth of checks I needed her to sign for my expense reimbursement. The insurance company got to keep the money. I had a brief phase where I felt I related to her and people called me Marilyn. Can confirm, I was a mess at the time. Over the winter, I worked with a girl who would say to everyone, "Girls hate me because I'm cute and I steal their boyfriends." I tried to avoid her after that. Girls hate you because you're a B-word. When her mother says, "Boys just flock around her like bees around honey," she agrees with a big smile. Respect for her brother responding with, "You mean like flies around crap?" My wife's maiden name was King. She maintains that she is a princess by definition. Can't argue with her logic. Based on your working, I assume that she changed her name when she married you. By that logic, you could argue that she abdicated. I was dating this girl that absolutely loved KFC's fried chicken. While she was in the shower one time, I decided to run to KFC and surprise her with a quick little meal. I did not get mashed potatoes, never really cared for their take on mashed taters. She threw me out upon finding there were no mashed potatoes. Threw me out. Talks about how much she hates the $200 marble iPhone case her mum bought her. Constantly calls her brand new MacBook Pro a piece of crap because she doesn't know how to use it, then proceeds to throw it to the ground and drop it all the time. Breaks the $200 marble iPhone case. Excited when mum buys her a new one. Yeah, I didn't stick around. Girls are too much drama, that's why I only have guy friends. I hate drama. Princess who proceeds to cause all sorts of drama. I think it's a fairly good, if not universal indicator that if any person, male or female, tends to push away their friends, they may not be great at relationships either. Refusing to do something on the grounds that she's too good for it. Not taking out the garbage, cleaning a bathtub, whatever. Nobody's too good to be humble and helpful. Anybody who thinks they are is a butthole. A girl that was in my friends group got really angry when I talked about potentially moving houses, and I said that I would ask everyone, including her, for some help. Pizzas and beer guaranteed, of course. She went bat-crap crazy about how girls do not do these kinds of things, and it's rude to even think about asking her. The other girls were livid, referring to herself as a princess, or, I can really be a diva, but cutesy smirk, gotta love me. No, I do not. The only time gotta love me is acceptable for anyone to say is if they're a pink baby dinosaur. After going out a few times, she said, Man, I've gone so overboard spending lately. Hey, can you take care of my credit card debt for me? Me, silent, looking at her oddly, trying to decide if this is a bad joke. I mean, you could be a sugar daddy, couldn't you? Me? No, I'm not that old yet, nor wealthy, and I wouldn't be even if I were. You don't want to be my sugar daddy? That was the end of that relationship. I could maybe be your aspartame daddy, that's about it. I prefer the term splendor daddy. This happened to me, went out once, worst date ever. Ended the night without even a handshake. Made no plans. She texted me to ask to borrow $500 a couple of times. One of my best friends had a girlfriend once say she likes to have nicer things than other people, but doesn't want to work, so he needs to have a good job. Same girl also said she should come before family and God. I'm not religious, but that's still pretty nuts for people who are, which they were. Throwing a tantrum and being teed off at your boyfriend for not proposing the right way. Knew a girl who did this exact thing. We have a tradition at our university where you propose under this huge tree on campus. Only some people do it, not everyone. She literally threw a tantrum even though he planned a sweet proposal that would have pleased any other girl just because he didn't do it under the fricking tree. Usually having princess written across the rear of their pink sweatpants is a dead giveaway. In the 90s, it was a big trend to have princess written down one leg of the track pants. I made myself a pair in black with smack whore written down the side in red letters in the princess font. I'm starting to remember why my parents considered me to be such a huge disappointment. Lady who wrote that comment, thank you. This is a wonderful example of how to subvert a trend, and we're all better off for it. I once dated a girl who had a dad that bought her everything. He made a lot of money and was really great at saving it. His life's mission was to use that money to buy his B-word daughter's love. She was 22 and had her car paid for in full, insurance, phone bill, rent-free living, yada yada. For her birthday every year, she would get $1,000 in cash. I, on the other hand, was 23 at the time and paid for everything I owned. I had a crappier car than her because I paid for it myself. She would remind me often how much better her car was. I paid for all my other expenses and bills. Then, this insane thing happens. She gets a job at the bank I have all of my accounts at. She freaking looks up my bank account to see how much money I have. She tells me this and criticizes that I only have X amount in the bank when she has XXX in the bank and is so much better than me at saving money. I never once in our whole relationship brought up the money issue or how she didn't really work for what she had. This time, though, I lost my fricking mind. I mentioned everything that she had that she didn't pay for, and explained that if it wasn't for her daddy, she would be a boulder $20,000 in debt. This blow-up was the biggest fight I've had in any relationship. Our relationship ended there. I learned a valuable lesson here. Always date someone who has a similar work ethic and financial goals as yourself. I realized that I always resented her and could admit I was jealous of her getting handed money. That's not right, nor is it healthy. I'm happily married to a very hard-working woman who will help me raise a hard-working child. Oh, don't worry. They'll tell you they're a princess. Was seeing a girl for a few months and I gave her something on Valentine's Day that read, "Be my Valentine," or some other variation. She responded with, "That's sweet, but my daddy will always be my Valentine." She was in her second semester of law school and in her mid-20s, so that whole daddy is the best man in the world thing was off-putting. She ended up being high maintenance and unpredictable, bad combination. And of course, my most read story was about some daddy-obsessed girl I dated in the army. I'll let Jenna know that everyone else thinks it's strange too. I should mention that none of that unhealthy daddy attachment made its way into the bedroom. Thankfully, there was only one daddy in her life. I forgot to mention that she got married about a year ago and she did an entire album for her wedding shoot with her and her daddy. When she complains about her parents on the first date, going on about her lines of succession and how they're always forcing her to marry a prince from another fiefdom. And how she just wants the title, but never even cleaned up after herself and makes her nasty stepsister do it all because she's pretty much an orphan now. Stepson had a girlfriend who was teed off because he didn't buy her a 1-week anniversary gift. Run, dude, run. To elaborate, they are pretty young, early teens. She didn't get him anything. This girl was nuts, would call him over and over. If he didn't answer, she would text him 8 million times. Luckily, he has since moved with me, new school and different city altogether, which is good because they dated like 4 times over the year. She would break up with him and then want him back. Well, to be fair, they're young and probably receive a little more of the princess treatment from their parents. Let's just hope they grow out of it, or into it in a healthy way. Senior year of high school prom was coming up, and this one girl who I kinda knew asked my friend if he would go to prom with her. He said yes, but a few days later changed his mind, which was 100% a prick thing to do. She, however, really wanted someone to go to prom with, and the guy that turned her down, along with some of my other mutual friends, told me I should go with her. Which sounded like a good idea because she was kind of cute and I was going alone at that point. A week or so later, a few of us were hanging out at Nifty 50s and they gave us those little paper hat things and I wrote, "Prom?" on mine, and she said yes. Sick. On the way home from asking her out, she said to me, "How does it feel knowing that you're going to prom with the birthday princess?" First red flag. Upon further conversation, she told me that prom was going to be on her 18th birthday, and because of that, she was definitely going to get prom queen, which would most likely be the absolute last reason I'd want to get prom queen in her situation. Fast forward a week or so, I had just gotten home from school and I got a text from her asking if I wanted to go with her to pick out shoes for prom. I should tell you that halfway through my senior year, I moved to another school district 40-ish minutes away, and my date lived like 15 minutes on the other side of school. Not to mention that the car I drove was a gas-guzzling machine, and it was like $10 round trip when prices were high. I tried telling her that I had just gotten home, and that it would take me an hour or so to get there, and that I had work that I needed to get done. I also had zero interest in going, but that's beside the point. Reasonable excuse though. She lost it. She was saying all this stuff about how messed up it is that I wouldn't do this for her, and other random stuff that totally didn't make sense. Then she said, "I guess I'll just ask Anthony to go with me." Anthony was a close friend of mine who had off and on feelings for my date, and they were close friends. There was a reason he didn't ask her, but I can't remember. I told her to go ahead because that didn't bother me. I wasn't trying to date the girl. Hell, I wasn't even trying to get laid. I purely asked her out because she was dying to go to prom with someone, and I was single. Flash forward to day of prom. A few days before prom, she asked me if she should get a tan. I told her I really don't like that look, especially not awful spray tan. The day of prom, she showed up looking like a carrot and her hands looked like that of a black person. Her tan was bad. Uneven, blotchy, you name it. She was proud of it though, so who was I to tell her otherwise? She said, "How does the birthday princess look?" And I told her she looked beautiful. She told me at that time where to meet her and her friends who I was now taking, which was news to me, but I bit my tongue and went along with it. I get to her friend's house 5 minutes early, and she is 45 minutes late. When she finally arrives, she was wearing a tiara that read, "Birthday Princess." Her and her friend probably took 100 pics together, and me and the other dude, who I hated but by the end of the night found out he was actually pretty cool, just sat to the side waiting for our turn for the pics. I think we took 3 together. Now, when I tell people this part of the story, they get confused because apparently my school was weird. We had this thing called pre-prom, where basically we'd go up on stage in the auditorium, walked out with our date, get pictures taken, and get judged for prom king or queen. People do little cute things on stage in order to gain approval and to get more votes. Some funny, some cute, some just walked out like normal. What she made us do is she walks out on stage, first looking around. I creep up behind her with a huge happy birthday balloon, so everyone knew it was her birthday, tap her on the shoulder, and when she'd turn around, I'd be on one knee, put a sash on her that read, "Birthday Princess." It was cheesy, it was uncomfortable, I hated it. Prom time. So we get to prom and take our seat, we eat a little, and then people start going on the dance floor. I ask if she wants to dance, but she says she's not feeling well and I should just go. I obliged and danced for a good 20 minutes, and when I look at her sitting down, she looks very upset. I notice her staring at the boy who turned her down dancing with another girl, and I felt bad for her. I went up to her and told her to come to the floor and have fun with everyone, and she says she's fine. A half hour passes before I walk up to her. She looks me dead in the eyes, and before I can say anything, she snaps and says, "You really need to learn to leave me the hell alone." Well then. I leave her at the table and go and hang out with my friends. People keep coming up to me and asking where my date is, and then someone asks, "Why is she crying?" The question then turns to, "What did you do to her?" It got to the point where even teachers and school faculty pulled me over asking if I did anything to upset her. An hour passes and it's time to announce prom king and queen. I sat down again and she calmed down by this point. She was telling the whole table how she has to be prom queen because it's her birthday and she's the birthday princess. I told her not to get her hopes up just in case it didn't happen, and she didn't like that at all. She wasn't prom queen, she wasn't even nominated. She ran out of the room crying. After it was announced and people started dancing again, I went up to the aforementioned Anthony and told him if he wanted to dance with my date, he could. He told me he would feel bad and didn't want to do that to me, but I assured him it would be fine. I looked over a little later, noticed them slow dancing, and that was the happiest I'd been all night. I then went off to dance with some of the other girls who didn't have dates, and for once, prom was fun. Too bad it ended 20 minutes later. As everyone is gathering their things and clearing out, my date finds me again and says, "I feel like you're upset with me." I didn't say a word. She asked if we could go to Applebee's because it's her birthday and they love singing to her every year. First, I told her she wasn't special, they do that to everyone. That was a real slap in the face to her. Secondly, I told her by the time we got there, we would only have 15 minutes before it closed. She told me that as long as we order before it's closed, we can stay there. As someone who was working as a dishwasher at the time, I knew how much of a prick move that was. She said, "Please, but I'm the birthday princess." I refused. The drive home was one of the most uncomfortable car rides of my life. Every time we passed a restaurant, "Do you think Denny's would sing to me? Do you think the diner would sing to me? Do you think McDonald's would sing to me?" I have never met someone, yet alone an 18-year-old, who was so obsessed with their birthday. I pulled up to her other friend's house, a bunch of people were going here after prom to hang out, and we all got out. As I was walking up the driveway, I got the thought, what the hell am I doing? I walked back to my car and drove away. In conclusion, while she wanted to feel like a princess, I felt like 2017 Prince. Also, the day of prom at school, I asked my friend if he wanted to hang out after prom. He told me he wasn't going because he was going to ask out the girl I was going with and didn't want to go alone. Fast forward a few months. I hadn't spoken to the girl I went to prom with since I drove away. Literally not a word. It was the day of graduation and my one friend was having a graduation party. I went and lo and behold, my date was there. A group of us started talking and out of nowhere she said, "You know, the way you asked me to prom was cool, but the way that blank, the kid who didn't end up going to prom because I was going with her, would have asked me would have been so much better." His plan was going to be to get Snow White at Disney to ask this girl to prom because she was obsessed with Snow White. Like, she cried on senior trip at Disney when she saw her because she was so overwhelmed with excitement. Maybe the first red flag should have been that she was obsessed with princesses. Blimey. Listen, I think most of us came out there feeling a little less bad about our various cringe prom dates, and let's be thankful for that. I declined to send a selfie and got a B-word fit on the first day of our texting as I skipped work to feverishly sleep through the flu. "Honestly, I don't know if I can trust you. If you won't do such a simple thing, what if you abandon me in my hour of need in the airport or hospital?" I can only groan so hard. My friend's sister calls herself a princess. First of all, she's really picky about food and never eats anything gross, like chicken legs or wings. She once shed a fricking forced tear when she learned that the thing she was eating is chicken legs at the middle of the buffet. We were in a restaurant with my friend and she tags along. So when we asked her order, she just said that we should know her favorite foods since we have known her for so long. Not really. I just ordered her some burger meal and she threw a tantrum since she doesn't eat ketchup, and I should have known this. What the frick? We were in Burger King. She ended up clearing her whole meal straight to the floor and ordered salad. When she talks, she requires her boyfriend to pay her full attention. Looking away is not an option, or he would disrespect her. Goes for coffee with someone. "We should see a movie." "Sure thing." "You're paying, right? I don't have any money." So I did. We walk past the snack bar and she goes and queues up. Slightly confused, I stand in line with her. She orders what she wants and then looks at me. I chuckle, place my ticket on the counter, and walk off and out of the cinema. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, linked at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot, linked in the description too. Either way, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.